43. Winchester has always been a favorite caliber among the hunters at hunting camps and shooting ranges. It's light, easy to handle, and the kind of caliber which seems like too good to be true. For decades, this caliber has been ruling all because of its flat shooting, low recoil, and accuracy. The 243 Winchester rifle caliber is versatile, capable of taking varmints at long range and dropping deer cleanly when placed in the right hands. But here's the catch. What most people won't tell you is that hidden beneath its glowing reputation lies a problem that only shows itself when it's too late. The 243 is almost too easy to love. Its smooth recoil and impressive accuracy can make shooters forget that it isn't a magic do-it-all caliber. Sooner or later, you'll run into its limits, and the moment you do, it might not just be frustrating, it could be costly. Imagine lining up on the buck of a lifetime, only to find that your trusted 243 doesn't give you the performance you expected when it matters most. That's why it's so important to dig deeper into this caliber instead of just believing the hype. The 243 Winchester rifle caliber is a fantastic tool, no doubt, but it has flaws that rarely get discussed openly. And when they finally reveal themselves, they often show up at the worst possible time. If you're thinking about using the 243 or already swear by it, you need to know what others won't say out loud. This is the 243 problem no one talks about until it's too late. So without any further delay, let's begin. First, let's have a look at the legacy of the 243 Winchester. History and background. Through the first half of the 20th century, the 243-inch bullet diameter was almost a ghost in the American shooting world. If you wanted to shoot a 6mm cartridge back, then your only real option was the old 6mm Lee Navy, chambered in the Lee straight pull bolt action. A few sporting rifles were built for it, but by 1935, the cartridge had all but vanished into history. Across the Atlantic, the story was a little different. The British gun trade experimented with the 6mm far earlier, and in the 1920s, names like Holland and Purdy introduced cartridges such as the 240 H&H Magnum, the 242 Rimless Nitro Express, and the 246 Purdy. Europe also saw half a dozen 6mm cartridges appear between 1895 and the 1920s, but in the United States, the caliber remained largely unknown and unpopular. That makes 1955 such a turning point. Out of nowhere, both Winchester and Remington rolled out new 6mm cartridges, the 243 Winchester and the 244 Remington. Winchester's version came from necking down the young 308 case, while Remington relied on the old and trusted 7057 Mauser case, which had also given rise to the 257 Roberts. The difference was subtle but important. The 244 Remington had a longer case and more powder capacity, giving it a slight edge in velocity. The 243, meanwhile, was shorter and designed to fit neatly into short bolt actions, though such actions were not yet common in 1955. On paper, the 244 should have been the clear winner. It offered more speed and more capacity and came from a respected parent case. But Winchester had one crucial advantage. It chambered the 243 not just in the Model 70 bolt action, but also in the sleek lever action Model 88 and soon after the Savage 99. While Remington was banking on numbers, Winchester was banking on versatility. That gamble would change the story of the 243 forever. Specifications and practical use of the caliber. Except Remington made a fundamental mistake in how they imagined the role of their new cartridge. They saw the 244 as a dedicated long-range varmint round offering 75 and 90 grain loads and pairing it with a 112-inch twist barrel. That twist rate was too slow to stabilize heavier bullets, which limited its versatility. Winchester, on the other hand, had a broader vision for the 243. They marketed it as both a varmint and a big game cartridge, introducing 80 and 100 grain loads and using a faster 110 twist that could handle heavier bullets. The outcome was obvious. The 243 became an instant and lasting success, while the 244 struggled. By 1963, Remington had surrendered, renaming the cartridge the 6mm Remington, changing the twist to 1.9, and finally offering a 100 grain load. But the damage was already done. If we split hairs, the 6mm Remington might still be a slightly better cartridge on paper, especially if you don't care about fitting into a short action. But perception matters, and history doesn't hand out second chances. The 243 Winchester took the crown and has never let go. It remains the most successful 6mm cartridge in the world, used everywhere from American deer camps to European hunting fields. Attempts to dethrone it, like the 240 Weatherby Magnum or the 243 Winchester Super Short Magnum, either stayed niche or died quickly. Nothing has ever come close to matching its global popularity. Today, the 243 Winchester's performance speaks for itself. The most common loads remain an 80-grain bullet at around 3,350 feet per second and a 100-grain bullet at about 2,960. Factory loads now range from as light as 55 grains all the way up to 105, covering everything from prairie dogs to pronghorns and deer. In general, bullets under 90 grains are designed for varmints with rapid expansion, while bullets 90 grains and heavier are tailored for big game. Accuracy is usually solid and often exceptional across the board. For varmint shooters, the lighter bullets are spectacular. Winchester's 55-grain ballistic silvertip, for example, is rated at 3910 FPS, and in a 26-inch barrel can even exceed 4,000. Yet many long-range varminters prefer the mid-range 80-grain bullets because they buck the wind better than the 22 centerfires. Still, despite its strength as a varmint round, the 243 has arguably earned even greater respect as a big-game caliber. It is accurate, light in recoil, and forgiving, which has made it the first big-game rifle for millions of young hunters over the decades. But here's the question no one asks out loud. Is the 243 Winchester still the best choice today? Or is it the problem you only discover when it is already too late? What's the problem with 243 Winchester no one is talking about? For all its strengths, the 243 Winchester does carry a problem that most hunters don't mention until they've run into it themselves. On deer-sized game at normal hunting ranges, it performs beautifully. But stretch that distance or move up to bigger animals and the story changes. The 243 loses effectiveness faster than many realize. Energy drops off quickly at longer ranges, and while a perfect shot will still do the job, the margin for error is slim. That makes it less forgiving than larger calibers when you're staring at a once-in-a-lifetime buck on the far side of a field. The second issue is one that rarely gets talked about outside of circles of seasoned shooters. The 243 is notoriously hard on barrels. The fast velocity and smaller bore diameter create higher wear and tear, especially when firing lighter bullets at blistering speeds. Competitive shooters and high-volume varmint hunters sometimes see accuracy begin to fade after only a couple thousand rounds. For a casual hunter, that may not matter, but for anyone who spends real time behind the rifle, it is a limitation that cannot be ignored. These two issues together form the hidden downside of the 243 Winchester. Final thought. The real strength of the 243 lies not in being a perfect do-it-all caliber, but in knowing exactly where it shines and where it doesn't. Used within its comfort zone, it is one of the most rewarding and confidence-building cartridges ever made. Step beyond that zone, however, and the cracks begin to show. Knowing that line is what separates a good experience from a hard lesson learned. If you find this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Keep watching Gun Genius.